Hello, everybody. Welcome to the ShipBob Operator Series, episode 25. So next week will actually be our final episode of season 1. Means we'll be going 6 months strong, which I'm very excited about and proud of the whole team and of Nick orchestrating all of this in the background as well. And then for all of you, I know a lot of the people on this have been coming every week. So appreciate you sharing this, asking questions, being engaged. You all know the drill. Drop in where you guys calling in from. As always, I'm here in Orange County. Nick out in the Cape.
Same old.
And
baby.
But before there we go. Chris is over here in San Diego. He's actually in the middle of a move. So in true entrepreneurial fashion, running your own company amidst a pandemic is not hard enough. So let's throw a couple more wrenches into the equation and move across the US. So, okay, well, I guess we have the ultimate flex from Jennifer in St. Martin. So everybody else, you can stop posting where you're from. She wins. We've got Chicago, Toronto, Phoenix, Naples, more Chicago. I'm waiting for all the Austin people and some more of the SoCal people to come in. There we go. We got Robert out in Holland. Some more Canada. I love it. Always getting some of the international people. Hollywood.
Let's go.
Western Mass. Is that a friend of yours, Nick? All right. Dubai, Honduras, all over the place. Perfect. So we have here, as you can see, we've got Chris Meade. He's the co-founder and I believe the CMO, correct?
Yep.
Of CROSSNET. It's the official four-way volleyball net. They've got sizes for men, women, and children. It works on what I saw, grass and sand and elsewhere. I've actually seen it out and about, especially being out here in Southern California. So I've got a bunch of questions. We've got a bunch of great questions from the audience when they were registering, and I'm sure they're going to ask a bunch here. But to start with, always like to start with the most important question, and that is, what is your favorite surface to use CROSSNET?
Sand.
Okay.
Yeah, I love diving on the beach, jumping in the water afterwards. It's always good to break up a big sweat and then jump in the water.
I don't know if there's anything better than jumping in the water after exercising on the beach.
Absolutely.
I played volleyball indoor and sand growing up, but we actually had a travel tournament where we got to play some grass games. And I'd never played grass until probably middle of high school. And grass is so much fun. It's like the best of both worlds where you can you're outside, you can dive and everything like you do in the sand, but you actually can, your vertical leap is not completely thwarted from the sand. So it's a nice blend. So let's just start with the origin story. Like, how did you guys even come up with this idea?
Yeah, I mean, we were literally home one night. I was still working my 9 to 5 in New York City. And our buddy Mike, who we grew up playing childhood soccer with, right? Like high school friend, he had graduated from Northeastern with an engineering degree. So normally you had a good idea, you need somebody to engineer and send it over to China, right? Like we skipped that step. We had somebody who had AutoCAD on his computer, knew how to do this for a living. So we were all together, and I was kind of just sick of commuting. I was literally commuting an hour each way on the subway, getting to work, just one of those jobs where I was cold calling. I was 24. I was like, how long am I going to do this for? And we're like, let's come up with something. So we kind of just sat there, brainstormed. And then we had the light bulb come on. It was like four-way volleyball. Why not just intersect the nets and bring back Foursquare? And we thought this is no way. This is already somebody's doing this already. It can't happen. And you Googled it and nothing was on the internet at all. There's not a single picture for it. And we're like, oh, this could actually be something. So the next day we woke up, we went to Walmart, we got 2 badminton nets, cut out the middle, and then rigged it up, tied one end to my mom's shed and the other one to the garden, had our friends come over, and we just played for hours on end. And it was just fun. We didn't really think of it as a business at the moment. We kind of just thought, dude, we made something in our backyard. We played for 5 hours, didn't check our phone. Now, why wouldn't every other kid in America do the same thing?
That's awesome. I love that. And it's funny how many of these stories also start with, I was working in New York way too long and I was commuting and I hated it. And then that's, it really, pours the fuel on the fire of that entrepreneurial spirit. So what about from like a manufacturing standpoint? Actually, before we get there, I want to go back to the ideas, because I know that you shared before, you guys were sitting around, you're throwing out a bunch of ideas. You came up with, hey, 4-way volleyball. What were some other wild ideas you guys came up with when you
Honestly,
ended up playing CROSSNET?
Not anything that really even deserves any attention. They were garbage. Really don't remember. The only one that we truly remember from 3 years ago was like a wall charger where like it sat there and it charged and it was permanently on. It was a speaker as well. So it was like there's an outlet to plug in your phone, and it also played music. But pretty happy we came up with CROSSNET instead.
Yeah, I think that's probably a much more fun space to play in, and you're in the sports world, which is great.
Exactly.
So let's talk about like the manufacturing, design, prototyping. Again, you guys went to the local retailer and bought some badminton nets and chopped them up.
Yeah.
So fortunately, your friend had an engineering background. So how did you approach that?
Yeah. So the next thing for us was like we had experience doing drop shipping before. I created an eBay store. I got banned from eBay actually because I was selling drop shipped like jerseys, like hockey jerseys, basketball jerseys. Like, hey, these are like knockoff jerseys, but they look real. If you want them, like you could get them from dhgate.com. So we had experience like working with like other people in overseas in China. So we literally just typed in volleyball nets. We found a manufacturer and we literally said, hey, we have a really cool idea. Are you open to discussing with us? We're not some VC funded kids. We don't have $100,000 to spend, but we have a cool idea. We think in 6 months or a year, it'll be really worth your time. And are you open to hearing us out? And we had to tread the water lightly because we didn't want to go send out the design to 100 people. And then we'd wake up one day and somebody stole our idea and somebody was manufacturing it, right? So we picked 1 or 2 people that we've really had a good rapport with. And we decided on one manufacturer, had about $10,000 to our name, nothing more. And about 3-4 months later, we had a sample out in the mail, and that was our first prototype.
Awesome. And do you still use the same manufacturer today?
Yeah. So, with our growth, we've had to open up 2 new factories. Well, 2 new manufacturers. But yeah, we still use that one, and they're at peak capacity. So that's why we've had to move on to get more people.
That's awesome. I love it when you're putting the stress on the manufacturer. We're starting to have to diversify. Are all of your manufacturers over in China?
Yeah, they're all overseas. Yep.
So I'd love to get a little bit more in the weeds on the manufacturing side. Before we get there, something that you mentioned that I know is top of mind for a lot of sellers, and I think continues to become more and more of a problem, is these knockoff products. And like you said, even though you guys were at stage 0, you didn't want to send it out so that everybody started to manufacture it. And so what have you guys seen there from like a competition standpoint, both in like real competitors, but also from just these like knockoff builders on, the different manufacturing websites?
Yeah, it's tough. We have a patent on the 4-way volleyball net. So legally, we're the only ones to create a 4-way volleyball net in the United States, which is great. Gives us tons of protection. We have that patent for like the next 15 years. So hopefully CROSSNET will be well established by then. But we actually work with a team that literally goes on it. They're called Find Fakes, great guys. And they literally just comb the internet for fakes and send them cease and desist, patents, trademarks, all that stuff to just get them to stop the listing. But it's a lot of work. We see that a lot of people will try to knock off the product, create miniature versions of the nets. It's tough. We see some people like literally running ads on Facebook for our product, and it'll take a few days for Facebook to take it down. And they're trying to sell knockoff versions. So we've staffed up with the Find Fakes guys, and then we also have 2 virtual assistants that their whole job is just to comb the internet now. And if we could get them to shut down, yeah, that's them. If we get them to take it down, then that's a great move for CROSSNET. So we're trying to expand internationally as quick as possible as well. So a lot of work for us.
That's awesome. I've actually never heard of Find Fakes. And by the way, just to mention what Nick threw in the chat also, whoever asks the most questions is going to win a free CROSSNET as well. So, and I don't know if we talked to you about that, Chris. We're not asking for a free one. We'll buy it from you all.
Yeah, no, I heard you guys on that. And ShipBob 20, shameless plug, but $20 off if you guys want one.
There we go. ShipBob 20. Yep. I'm actually enough to go buy one of those. So with Find Fakes, and you mentioned Facebook, they are the ones that are reaching out to Facebook on your behalf. They're notifying you all, and then you're notifying Facebook. How does that work?
Yeah, it's a system. So we pay them, right, to do the outreach. But it is it's a monthly retainer, right, that we pay them to go out on our behalf and take people down. But we see that the more that we put into the relationship, the more proactive we are, the better work that gets done. So we pay a virtual assistant just a couple of dollars an hour, find them on a website like freeup.com, which is really good for us. And they just comb the internet, and then boom, they literally say, hey, here's another one, take it down. Here's another one, take it down. So in the beginning of COVID, when outdoor games were kind of at its peak, when it was right in the summer months, it was tough. But thankfully, things have kind of calmed down recently.
What does that process typically look like? I mean, you send them your patent, you send them like a cease and desist. What are you sending them, and how often are they actually like conforming to your requests?
Yeah, so most of the time it's either you're sending it to the seller directly, or you're sending it to the platform. So it depends on the platform. So if it's eBay, instead of sending it to the seller, we'll send it directly to eBay, and we'll get eBay to take it down. But yeah, it's mostly sending over our patent paperwork, our trademark paperwork, and any copyrighted images that we have that they're using.
Interesting. And when did you start the patent process? Was that from day one? Was that after you started getting some traction? Day one? Yeah,
we got a good legal team, so I wasn't involved too much in that. All I know is I got our patent number. We're really well protected and have a really strong legal team, so that's all good. But yeah, we started that in 2017.
Who was the paranoid one that wanted to kick that off?
I think all of us, man. I think when you're trying to, when you're thinking about the security and when you have a brand new idea like this, like looking back, like we're so fortunate, right? Like it's a damn cool idea. Like we're really lucky to have this, but if we weren't protected, like we would have really shot ourselves in the foot. So.
Nice. And so to get back on the manufacturing side, so here's a question from Maria. How has COVID affected your manufacturing relationship and let's just say the delivery speeds over in China?
Yeah, so COVID for us, fortunately, our manufacturers are not like in the Wuhan province and like where that got shut down. So they were able to keep producing. Shipments have been delayed a bit just due to the ports becoming super crazy with things backed up and everybody trying to keep up with demand. In regards to our relationship, the manufacturers have never been happier because we are now manufacturing 30,000 units per month. So we went from just way shy of that to producing way, way more. So they're happy. They're getting more money. And we're just pumping out CROSSNETs every single day. So we have trucks coming into the country like 3 or 4 times a week now.
Well, nice. That's awesome. And have you guys been out to China to meet with the manufacturers or not yet?
Yeah, I have not personally. My partner, Mike, who runs the entire China operation import business, he's been out there twice already.
Great. And in the life cycle so far of the brand today, when did you guys decide to fly out for the first time, or when did he decide to fly out for the first time?
Yeah, Mike flew out about a year ago for the first time, if I'm correct. And that was really when we were starting to add to our product line. See this about customer life cycle. Yeah, so we started adding new products. So the indoor bases, the double net, the pool version, the partnership that we have with Wilson. It was all about going over there and making sure quality was perfect and making sure that the product could be used perfectly. Because we worked over 2 years to build this mold for our indoor model. And if we had to blow the mold, right, and it's like a big plastic mold, costs like $10,000. And if 1 little centimeter's off, then the whole game collapses. So he wanted to go over there personally to make sure it worked perfectly before we even designed the product.
Nice, that's great. And then to get back to the patent side, because we have a question here from Jacob, and we'll jump into some others from the chat. How quickly was the patent issued after you guys filed for it?
It was not a quick process at all. Like I said, I was very much not involved, but it was well over a year.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then I think a lot of this will lead us into like some of the marketing and demand generation side, and as you think through product expansion. But you guys have published how you went from let's call it 75K in year 1. You guys did over 2 mil in 2019, and you guys are looking to do 10 mil plus this year.
Correct.
That's congrats. That's great growth. Going from 0 to let's say 75K, how did you get that first sale, and then how did you guys continue to scale through that year?
Yeah, I mean, at first, so I was we were just talking about this today, we didn't have any paid, like we didn't have money to put behind paid dollars, right? Like this was all self-funded. I remember pulling out my 401k, like literally taking out all $3,000 of it, but it was all I had to my name at the time. And I had literally money to live for like 4 months, 5 months. So what the best way to was we had 50 nets or 100 nets, whatever it was. We'd go to the beach every day in Rhode Island. That's like where we vacationed at, growing up. It was like 45 minutes away from our house. And we'd set it up. And by the end of the day, we'd have 45 people in line, like people just staring at it, wanting to play, coming up to us. It'd be a full 8-hour shift. But we'd sell the one that we played with to somebody. And then we knew that somebody from the beach would buy it when they got home. They'd Google four-way volleyball net. They'd buy it. They would then go take it home on the weekend and go play at their neighboring beach or park or whatever it was and have that same viral effect that I had that day. So eventually, now we got 100,000 nets out into the world. I know if I could get my customers out playing, they're going to create that same effect that I did on that very first day.
It's interesting with the product. It does catch your eye because, people are playing volleyball all over the beach, but it's such like this like striking product, on the beach with this four-way setup. So you mentioned how, so with the founding team, it was you and your one other co-founder, or were there more?
No, it's my brother, Greg, and our other co-founder, Mike.
Okay, great. So there's the three of you. Yep. So a question from Vikram, and you mentioned, you had to deplete your 401k, you had a couple months left, which is there's no better motivator than, hey, I've got a couple months, so feast or famine. So from Vikram, what was the investment that you guys started with?
It was less than $10,000. So what happened was we invested about $10,000, sold our first initial purchase order, which was like 50 units, I believe, and then we doubled up and we had to add a little bit more capital just to get that bigger purchase order in. So we kind of doubled up a few times. But yeah, it was 10 grand was the initial thing to get it all started with the marketing, logos, trademarks, all that good stuff.
Okay. And by the way, I love how you would, you're using the product to sell like out in the wild, medium is the message, like you're actually, the people are using it right there. And I love how you'd actually sell the used net too.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
What about from like an audience building perspective? So, you only can go to so many beaches in the same day and play for 8 hours every day.
Yeah.
When you thought of outside of like word of mouth and selling to people in your backyard, what were the first channels that you started to approach?
Yeah. Well, I mean, we looked at this. We knew it was going to be a long-term game. We knew this wasn't a get-rich scheme. We were not going to be driving beautiful cars really quickly. It took almost 2 years for us to even get a paycheck from this company. So our first strategies were like going to the beach. Luckily for me, I had a film degree. So I graduated with a film degree, really good, decent photographer. And I'd go to the beach and I'd take content every day. I'd either upload it to our site or then we'd go home. My brother was kind of running paid for us back then, and he'd upload the clip to Facebook. We'd throw a $50 spend on it, hopefully get a 2 or 3 ROAS, and hey, we made a sale. Bump it up to 75. And then I started really looking at everything on a metric of 100 visitors. If I know I got 100 people to the site, it cost me $30 to do that. I know my conversion to this, I could really calculate my net profit, right? So let's throw another $60 in. It's like gambling, right? So if I knew that my conversion was pretty consistent over time, let's just keep getting these numbers up. So it's kind of building out that math equation.
And with this math equation, of course, you have your order value, and you start off with a single product, which was the 4-way net.
Correct.
Did you roll out the one size fits all, which maybe is like the men's or the women's height, or did you have a size for men, women, and children at the beginning?
Yeah. So for that product testing, what we were looking for was what sucks about this product? How can we make it better? We probably went around 5 or 6 iterations to make it what CROSSNET is today. But the first thing we saw was our first prototype was too small. I'm not a tall dude. I'm like 5'8". But when I had my 6-foot friends on it, they were like dunking it every time. We're like, this needs to stop. This is not good. So we're like, all right, let's look up what men's volleyball height is. Let's look up what women's volleyball height is. And let's keep an acceptable height for kids. Let's just call it 5'7" or 5'8". And we're like, okay, so if we could make our poles be interchangeable, where you could just take out a pole and take out another pole, you could adjust the height. So rather than having customers have to shell out more money, they just have that flexibility. So now our game's completely height adjustable. Men's, women, children, just take out a pole, take out 2 poles, and just reset it. Takes about 30 seconds to do.
And so to start, you had the one SKU. You had the one product.
Yeah, we've had the one SKU up until January 2020.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
So one SKU store for them.
But by the way, what I also take from your story there is it's the just launch. Like you guys had an idea, people wanted it, just launch. The fact that you guys were already running the business with a patent in place and selling it, and then you were like, oh, we should see what the men's and women's volleyball net height is.
Yeah.
I love that. You get something out there because you guys had something.
Going for it. You just got to go for it. Like if you spend all your time strategizing, you're trying to do things by the book, like you're never going to get anything done. Like the whole reason we got out of corporate America was so we didn't have to do those checks and balances with 100 bosses before you got your voice heard. Like if I say something, let's get it done. Like, let's go. Like we want to get a billboard for next week. We're trying to get a billboard now. Like it's cool being able to operate like really quickly.
So Nick called out Spike Ball, which is another game that we see everywhere. How do you guys view? I know they're very different games, but they're still used for the same reason, which is entertainment and exercise outside. So how do you guys view Spike Ball maybe as like a competitor, as like a complement to the game? Is the same person who buys Spike Ball going to buy CROSSNET? How do you guys look at that?
Yeah, no, we look at Spike Ball, certainly look at them as a competitor, but also very fortunate. I've been able to actually make a good connection with a guy over at CanJam. Which is a game I personally grew up on. Like without CanJam, and I guess without Spike Ball, there is no CROSSNET, right? Like they paved the way for us. There's a lot of good things they're doing, a lot of things that we do differently. But their consumer, right, is definitely somebody who would buy a CROSSNET. You got those dudes diving on the beach, getting super sweaty. That would be awesome at playing CROSSNET. So it's kind of winning them over. But on a separate channel, our game also hits a more broader market, right? You don't see a 90-year-old grandma playing Spike Ball. That's really like on ESPN, right? Like the average mom and dad. So we broke down our customer persona for the first time ever last week. Like we finally created profiles, and there's millennials like myself running around diving. There's physical education teachers, and there's moms and dads looking to get their kids out off their laptop or their phone and into the backyard. So moms and dads is a huge demo for us. I think it's an even stronger demo than what Spike Ball probably has, because everybody could play CROSSNET, whether it's just a tap or they want to run around. So a much broader demo than Spike Balls.
Awesome. Well, I'd love to dive into persona stuff in a minute. But as you mentioned, you had your single SKU all the way up until this year.
Yep.
Now when you go to your website again, there's from multiple sizes. You've got the pool set up. You've got accessories. How did you? I guess what qualitative and quantitative inputs did you take to start expanding that catalog?
Yeah, I mean the only qualitative and quantitative numbers we looked at was just common sense, right? We had people playing CROSSNET. It gets cold up in Boston, right? It's about to snow pretty soon. You can't play CROSSNET anymore. Your season's done. How do we make it a year-round sport? We bring it inside. So what do we need? We needed a base for it. So we created that. I'm from Miami. It's hot right now. You can't go outside. Like you want to be in a pool if you're outside. Well, better way than playing CROSSNET in the pool. So those were our two main SKUs. And then listening to customer feedback. We use a tool called Okendo right now to get reviews. We're also on the beach a ton, obviously getting customer feedback. People wanted it to be bigger. They wanted to run around. They wanted to break up more of a sweat. So we doubled the size and called it CROSSNET Doubles in it. So you could either play with your friends, just the four of you, or you can make it a team sport, which will help grow CROSSNET as a sport, where we'll have teams travel all across the country playing together, which I'm really excited about.
Do you guys, are there like CROSSNET competitions?
Oh yeah. There's tournaments. We're an intramural sport at like over 100 schools right now.
Really?
Yeah, we're played in like 7,500 gym classes. Yeah, so it's starting to become an actual sport. And that's like on the marketing side, that's what I'm working on right now, is it's less about conversion focused, like just get them to buy, and more about education. Because you may see CROSSNET on the beach, but 99% of the time, you don't really know the rules yet. Like we invented rules, 4-square volleyball, game to 11, win by 2. There's 2 minutes of education that needs to be done. So that's what I'm looking to solve this year.
I love that, where, I mean, you're going really big on the brand play. And it's, how do you infiltrate people as young as possible and, at schools? And when you say school, are they primarily universities? Are they high schools? Are they elementary schools?
Yeah, so we have We work with vendors that have these catalogs, right? And every gym teacher in the world, I didn't know this until I started the business. Like every gym teacher gets a catalog every quarter, based on where they are, whatever ones they sign up for. So CROSSNET's front and center in all those catalogs. And we're just pumping orders out to schools every day. And then the gym teacher sets it up. They got a class of 20 or 50. They got 8 classes a day. The kids have a great time on it. They run home to mom and dad. Mom and dad, I need this game. I played I played in school. And it's just a never ending cycle. So it's really cool to build that out.
I love it. It's got to be such a fun product to market.
It is.
I want to get into the education side and understand a little bit more of, I guess, like from pricing and margin and all of that. But before we get there, you mentioned having to educate the rules of the game. And you mentioned, how you got your master's in film or your undergrad in film, and, from photography. So a question from Jacob here is, from like a content perspective, do you guys see yourself, or maybe you have some of this, launching content that goes with the nets, from lessons to just different competitions? And it's almost like the Peloton for beach sports.
Yeah, absolutely. That's actually what we're working on right now. So we're building branded partnerships with professional volleyball athletes. Volleyball is not a very well-known sport here in the States. So it's something that we're using the most well-known people, getting them on retainers to create content around exactly that, right? Like using it at CrossNet as a jousting tool to learn volleyball skills, learning it as a doubles net to learn about fundamentals like bump set spike. So creating YouTube tutorials, because from a brand standpoint, our YouTube is terrible. Like that is by far the worst channel we have. So we need to build that out. And by creating those lessons with the best of the best is what we're trying to do this year.
And so how do you approach those partnerships? Are you paying them for the work? Are they like an affiliate? I'm sure it differs.
It's a case-by-case basis. I mean, when we first started the company, we never paid for influencer marketing. Our product's heavy, right? It's 20 pounds. I know my product costs. I know my shipping costs. Before even one lands at the doorstep, I'm already out $60 or so. So we didn't have money to risk back then. Now we're a little bit more fortunate where we could kind of A/B test some of these things. And we're also smart enough to know, hey, if I pay you $1,000, you make me a sweet video, I could probably monetize it on Facebook to get my money back eventually. So those partnerships they're case by case, typically monthly retainers. You have a set of deliverables that you have to give to the brand. And then we'll also give you back brand building where, hey, we might spend $100,000 a month on your Facebook video tagging you and building your brand. So you can leverage that to get other deals. Getting a big billboard out here in Mission Beach, going to have one of the athletes front and center, like AVP player. It's hundreds of thousands of impressions that we're giving you and your brand. So it's kind of we're trying to find partners who are interested in reciprocating.
Nice. Nick screenshotted your LinkedIn post on that. I think it was from LinkedIn.
Yeah.
You guys are rolling out the billboard. So.
Oh yeah. That's been going off today.
That's perfect. I've been trying to convince Casey to be doing that since I started here at ShipBob. So.
But the thing is, Nick wants to be on the billboard, so that's what we're going back and forth on. So did you guys always price the 4-way net at $150, or okay, where did you guys start there? Because like you're $60 out the door.
Yeah, it was $100, and our manufacturing cost has gotten much better at scale. So it was $100 originally, and then I started just emailing buyers right at stores, being like, "Yo, you should have a CrossNet. It's a no-brainer." And then we started working on our first wholesale deal. And I'm like, "Oh, you guys could get the game at like $75. You sell it at $100, just not even taking into account marketing or shipping, and they were going to make like $3." And I'm like, "All right, this actually doesn't work." So we bumped our price up to $150. Nobody noticed, and now we have margins.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And so as you think of, one of the questions from earlier was repeat customers, also just increasing customer lifetime value. So maybe if you can talk with us a little bit about that both. One is, how do you even approach the repeat customers? And then as you've expanded the product line, how has that impacted, the lifetime value, or even maybe the average order value, like on the first purchase?
Absolutely. Yeah. So we've just released the H2O model, which is $100. We have the indoor bases, which is an additional $100. We have the doubles net, $75. And we created a branded partnership with Wilson. So like the real Wilson company now makes CrossNet volleyballs with our brand on it. So those are all good upsells. We try to upsell them during the purchase. But my biggest thing is trying to own that data, getting their email, getting them into the funnel, and then post-selling them. So hey, are you enjoying CrossNet? Wish you could sweat a little bit more. Yeah, we've heard that complaint before. Get your doubles net. Or, yo, it's 32 degrees in Minnesota. You might want to play inside. Get an indoor net. So stuff like that.
Are you going to get Tom Hanks with Wilson
We
playing?
try. Yeah, we definitely get that.
Just playing volleyball.
I heard he's doing cameos now.
Is he? Yeah, if he's doing a cameo, we can definitely send one over.
That'd be awesome. How have you? So let's talk about some of these B2B partnerships, and maybe we'll get to education after. So you mentioned, you're trying to land that first retailer. What does that? How do you approach that from, you're selling it to them for less than you're selling it to, of course, like a direct consumer.
Of course.
But what you're spending maybe on the ads is less, and you can sell it bulk, which of course is starting to kick off the brand. How do you guys balance that and evaluate that?
Tough, dude. It's really tough because you have on one side, you have your wholesale revenue, right? Where it's a fixed cost. I know I'm going to make this much net profit off my order. And then you have the direct to consumer CrossNet game.com. It varies on the day. My ad cost might be high. My ad cost might be low. And then also on the wholesale side, you're making less money, but you're making it at scale, which is always nice. But then you also have to balance the payment terms. Some of the vendors are net 30, some of them are 90 days, some of them are 120 days. So it's finding that fine balance. The way I kind of think about it is we're sending all of the traffic to CrossNetGame.com. We're trying our best to convert them there. We could offer discounts our retailers can't typically on our products. So that's motivation. Doing everything we can to get them to enjoy the product, enjoy the brand, get helpful tips by getting their email or phone number. But at the end of the day, it's 2020. Like, being honest, would I buy from CrossNetGame.com over Amazon? No, there's not a chance. I'm logging on to Amazon, buying it in 1 second, and going to get it there in 12 hours. So we know that's how customers react these days. Our whole goal is just drive brand. Wherever you want to get it.
So excluding the retailers or the brick and mortars, how would you say is like your sales split between your site and Amazon?
Yeah, so right now, we have an interesting relationship with Amazon. We don't sell Amazon direct. We have a distributor who picks it up, buys thousands at a time, and they sell on Amazon for us. They run that whole relationship. Probably back in stock actually in a few days. So they sell on Amazon.com for us, and then also some of the smaller marketplaces like Wish and Jet.com.
Interesting. Why'd you go that approach versus selling directly through Amazon?
So it takes a lot of manpower, a lot of time. We were a small company, literally just the 3 founders working like 12-hour days. We finally have enough cash to have employees, but it's just a lot of manpower, a lot of reviewing. And when we kind of weighed the pros and cons, the pricing kind of that they offered us just made a ton of sense. The pros of going with them versus doing Amazon ourselves, having to staff customer service, potentially losing our account if we don't ship in time. All those things it made sense to take a good paycheck from them and keep the ball rolling. And the margins are crazy good on that. So we're happy with it.
And it sounds like you've been working with them for a while.
Yeah, Spreetail, great company.
Oh, with Spreetail. Okay, nice. I'm familiar with them.
Yeah.
That's nice too, because I guess from like a risk and cash flow perspective, that helps you a lot as well. And especially in the early days, cash is king. And if you don't have that cash flow, you can't even do any of your D2C side.
Precisely. Yeah. I mean, for that, like the Amazon revenue, although we may make $1 or $2 more on if we went direct, it's also not guaranteed, right? Like I know I'm importing, say 2,500 units. I know I'm getting paid in 60 days. Where Amazon, I'm like, am I getting all that money right now, or am I going to get it in a few weeks? It's not. I'm trying to weed out the variables and just get straight cash as quick as possible to reinvest into the business.
How'd you manage cash flow early on? You mentioned you guys pulled your money together. You sold out. You had to pull together a little bit more money. Did you go to the bank to get like SM loans? How'd you approach that?
No, we actually just took our first loan out ever. Actually, we're in the process right now. Haven't even got the cash yet. 10 million plus into this thing. So we literally just kept doubling down. Sold 50, bought 100, sold 100, bought 250, 250 to 500, 500 to 2,500. Just kept doubling down. Literally barely paid ourselves like enough money to like pay the rent. And now it's like we finally got to this big scale where we kind of escaped the need for the VCs and the huge banks and the interest rates.
Casey might be frozen there.
Yeah.
See if I can get it back on. Hold on one sec. Let me see.
I'll answer Maria's question in the intro. Most profitable
All right,
reselling platform, direct to consumer, always CROSSNETgame.com. It depends on the day because Facebook ad spend is variable. Some days my CPA could be $40. Sometimes it could be $10. Just depends on how the ads perform.
And he's back.
Hey,
I'm back.
there he is.
This is my oldest is on Zoom elementary school, so we're battling for Wi-Fi. Even though I've not really had these too many issues so far, fortunately.
Yep.
So again, if you want, you want to reiterate your answer again, just really quickly, and then I'll jump back in.
I jumped to the next question on here. What was the question?
I guess which one did you answer? You said profitable reselling platform.
Profitable reselling platform, and I said my website.
Okay, perfect. And so that's what I wanted to ask off your website from like a channel split perspective. What has been, which channels are you using mostly to drive revenue through your site? Yeah,
so historically it's been Facebook. Always videos shot on an iPhone compared to studio production. We are never, ever, ever as a company going to spend tons of money on video content when I know my iPhone does just a good enough job, pretty much, unless it's going to be like a crazy ad or something like that. But always looking for organic content, tricking the consumer into thinking, hey, is that the dude I went to high school with playing in his backyard? So trying to get them to stop for 2 seconds to watch, because people are smart. They know what an ad is, and my finger knows how to move right past that. So trying to get them to stop. Recently, with the election and all of that, Facebook CPA has kind of gone a little south. So we're moving a lot of our ad dollars over to Snapchat. That's performing well. Not performing as well conversion focused, but overall traffic to the site is really, really good with Snapchat. It also fits kind of our demo of like 18 to 25, 26, whatever that is. And I know if I could get them to the site, I know, let's say I have a capture rate of say 7 or 10% through the email pop-ups, and I know my conversion rate off that 10%, it's still predictable revenue. And Snapchat's been pretty good for us so far.
How is the data in Snapchat's ad platform?
It's not that good to my knowledge. I'm not the one overseeing it, thank God. But I know it's been hooked up to BetterCart, which is our checkout process. One-step checkout, BetterCart, amazing tool. We use them, really affordable. But yeah, Snapchat and BetterCart integrate. We just doubled down with our Snapchat spend this morning, actually. So I'll check back on that.
And what about TikTok? Have you experimented there at all?
No, that's the one thing I keep asking our team to do. We have a TikTok platform. Some of the videos have been viral. Like we got a couple million views on some of them, I believe. But no, that's one thing that we just need to kind of put more focus on. We just hired a full-time social media manager. So she's going to be focused on getting TikTok up. So
there was a question from somebody prior, and Nick actually called this out as well. So from Murad, you guys talked about how you made millions on a $60 ad. So let's hear that story.
Yeah, of course. So we have, if you've seen a CrossNet ad, you've probably seen this one ad. It's the Latvian Olympic volleyball team. This dude randomly messaged us and said, hey, like I have a big volleyball camp. Will you pay to like just get it out here? And I promise like we'll get some good content. Sent it out to Latvia, which is super far away from the United States on the map. And essentially I woke up one morning in bed. I remember just rolling over, and my girlfriend is still sleeping. I was like, what the hell? My phone is like going crazy. And somebody shared this Latvian video, and there's millions of views on it and like thousands of comments. And yeah, so we've taken that video and we've run ads on it for the last 2 years. And it's sick. It's just 4 Olympians going super hard at CrossNet, making it look way cooler than it ever could. And yeah, we've been using that ad. It costs us $60. And yeah, it's great.
You've been using that for 2 years?
2 years we haven't stopped.
That's insane. Because
yeah, that's why we're partnering with the volleyball players, because I got mad at my team this morning. I'm like, been using the same video for 2 years. It's working, but like, there's so many volleyball players out there. Let's go pay them $60 and get a dope rally.
That's awesome. I mean, it just goes to show too, is like once you find your winner, keep riding it. Nick, I don't know if you have a link to it, or maybe
Let's see if I can find it.
Yeah. I'm blanking on the game. There's the I know it's really popular over in Thailand, but it's almost like volleyball meets soccer. And, you know, it's like a lower net and they play with their feet. And so I just think, I'm sure there's just so many fun, like different types of ads you can run.
Oh yeah.
Just, I'll pull up what the sport's called, but just, you get those guys on
check back in a few months, my friend.
Perfect. Unsurprisingly, you're several steps ahead of me. So a question that we often get, you know, it's the number one question. Here we've got this from Irene and Maria, but is marketing from scratch. So let's say you were to do this again. What would you focus on from day one on a marketing perspective?
Email. We dropped the ball for over a year on email. Didn't collect data, didn't email customers, didn't build out funnels or flows. Email now makes up almost 30% of our business, our D2C business, excuse me. But dude, we spent so much money on paid ads and just did not capture traffic correctly. Email every single time. And now we're starting SMS, and I know my answer is going to be SMS in like 6 months. Yeah, we're sleeping on SMS too, so trying to find the time to manage both.
I love that. It's such like a simple but often forgotten channel, and it's just own your customer data and own that relationship, because you're always renting it on these other platforms.
Absolutely.
From an email perspective, what tool are you guys using there?
We use Klaviyo.
Nice. And what are you guys going to use for SMS?
We use Postscript.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah. Both are close partners of ours. Cool. So that's great to hear. It's crazy too, the amount of revenue that you're driving from email. We were meeting with a customer a couple weeks ago, and she's like, I love checking my email stats more than anything else. She's like, I got like a third of my revenue last month from email, which I'm just paying the email platform, and that's it. And so it's just it's often an ignored channel.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yes, so definitely don't overlook that. And also building out like funnels, right? Like it's been really fun to start creating messaging, to build content that resonates to people. I now have segments where this is our mom audience, this is my physical education audience, and this is my kid audience. And I'm never receiving emails that moms are getting and vice versa. So really fun there to get really smart about it.
Nice, that's great. Let's get into the persona stuff right after this. So you guys are in Dick's, you guys are in Target, you're in Walmart. As a up and coming brand, how are you able to penetrate those markets?
LinkedIn, man. Building a network on LinkedIn has been nuts. So started this with literally nothing. I'd be so pumped if I got like 5 likes on a post, right? But the first thing I did when I built the company was let's add every single buyer. And so they've been following the journey for 3 years now. And now my LinkedIn, I could post about unicorns and 30 people are going to comment about it. So it's been cool. So now they have seen, regardless if they actually answer my DM or not, they've seen CrossNet in their newsfeed. They're literally seeing it on a daily basis. And when I went to go make that cold outreach, it wasn't that cold anymore because they're like, of course I've seen CrossNet. Like I've been spammed in LinkedIn, and also I may have seen it in real life. So that's
So did you connect with them did you identify the buyers you tried to connect with them on LinkedIn and then pull them into your news feed from that?
Correct. Yeah. So I connected, and I did not hit. Nobody likes a message right off the bat. It's the worst. So don't message them right away. Maybe if you want to add some personalization and test it out, but don't ask right away. It's usually going to be a no. So I did that. Found the email for one of the buyers, sent him like a plea being like, hey, like I promise you these things will sell. Please just take 8 of them. Like I promise it's going to work. And it did, thank God. But yeah, that's how we started LinkedIn. Also have a chat box. If you do not have a chat box on your website, you are doing yourself such a disservice. Dick's came in on a chat box. They literally said, hey, and I had been trying to reach out to Dick's for a year. They never wrote back to me ever on LinkedIn. And one day we just get a little like 6-word message on our chat box saying, hey, this is so-and-so from Dick's. We're ready to place an order. And we're like, how the hell?
I love that. Don't dismiss channels. If it didn't work today, maybe the product wasn't ready, maybe the customers weren't ready, but don't dismiss it in the future. And, on like the software side, I often get the question is XYZ channel, can that bring in just small merchants or enterprise merchants? People come in through so many different channels. Like you mentioned this chat, somebody might just Google you. People can come in through so many different channels.
Yeah.
Here's a question from Jacob. I like this one. I might reword it a little bit. From a marketing perspective, or maybe a distribution perspective, what has been the biggest waste of money or time?
That's a good question. We've gotten burned by a few retargeting, banner ads and display ads. That hasn't worked as well, but it's also been when we've been trusting like solutions. I won't name drop any company, but we've trusted some solutions and woke up and saw $2,000, $3,000 spent with one purchase, and we're like, I might as well like go hand deliver this for $3,000. So be careful about that stuff. Leaving stuff on and not checking it. If you don't have the bandwidth to check and you start making investments, be very, very careful when you leave like automated cash just spending, because you'd wake up and be very sad.
Let's go to the customer personas. And so the people you mentioned, they're pretty different. There's the younger kids. Let's say there's the fresh out of college people, and then there's the parents. And so as you segment the messaging, how are you capturing that information up front? And so you can utilize Klaviyo or PostScript properly.
Yeah, so what we're doing now, and it's a fun, difficult question to answer, but what we're doing now is on our Facebook ads, we're going after specific demos. So this ad is going to moms and dads only, showing little kids playing in the backyard or in their gym. They're then going to a landing page. They're then putting in their email or their phone number on that landing page. They're then getting sent into a segment that says mom and dad. So now I know this is a mom and dad that has come from Facebook, has come to my website, and now I have their information. So now when I go create my email messaging, I click on the mom and dad segment and I send them only mom and dad stuff.
From building up your database or your prospect list and customer list, how do you approach that with ads? So are you sometimes just trying to utilize content and the ads to pull people in because after a certain number of emails you can convert them? Are you trying to get them to buy on the first visit? How do you approach that?
Yeah, it's a lot of A/B testing. Sometimes it's discounting because when I think about it, like the only reason to buy on our website, right, is the discount. Otherwise, I would go to Dick's or I'd go to Walmart or anywhere else that sells the game. Because we've all had our poor experiences where we bought something online, it didn't come, and you had to call your credit card company or something like that. And I'd rather go to the trustworthy vendor. So trying to build that trust with them is what we're trying to do. But to answer your question, we're definitely segmenting it that way, and then creating content geared towards the mom and dad to specifically get them to purchase, but also teach the rules. Because when you buy at Dick's, you get the game, but you may not know exactly how to play. I mean, there's rule involved, but you're not going through that funnel. You're not getting tournament invites. You're not really becoming a part of the community unless you buy on our website.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned the tournament thing again. I love that. I feel like that's like as you just create these like mini movements, like like we've seen with CrossFit and like the Tough Mudders and spike ball tournaments. You start creating just such crazy momentum. And you down in San Diego, I've seen countless times. Just biking through San Diego, and you see just massive amounts of people just playing just these different games, and it's just like these all-day tournaments, and it attracts so many people just watching it right there.
Yeah, all the time. So that's going to be fun. Tournaments are cool. We had a huge event schedule lined up pre-COVID. Had to cancel them all, unfortunately. But we had one in San Diego towards the end of last year. We just literally geoed the emails to California specific, ran ads on Cali specific, and we had 50, 60 kids show up. One kid drove 3 hours to come play.
That is awesome.
I was like, dude, I got to give
Casey.
Yeah,
don't tell me.
Hours to come play. That was humbling, dude. So excited for the future and when we could do this and not get publicly ridiculed for it. So
love that. So today's show.
Yep.
I know you and Nick were chatting here. How did that come about?
Chat box. Simple chat box. Hey, this is today's show. We got a segment on outdoor games. And she was from a Gmail, like not even a todayshow.com. It was a Gmail. So sometimes things seem too good to be true, but at least try to suss them out first to see what's up. So
I could not agree more.
Yeah.
Actually, when we launched, I think it was this series or maybe it's something else Nick and I worked on. Our CEO signed up, and his personal email is still a Hotbox email or a Hotmail email address, and so he's the CEO of ShipBob. So you never know. Don't discount it. What kind of impact to the brand did you see from the Today Show, and did you utilize your appearance on that in ads as well, or did they not let you?
Yeah, so sadly it was during COVID, so it wasn't an interview with us. It was a outdoor game special. So pretty much we had no idea. We shipped them a box. They said they're filming a segment. We had no idea what it was going to look like. They just said, tune in. Anybody who's never watched Today's Show, it's like a 4-hour show. It takes up your entire morning. So we just had to watch for 4 hours until they played our 30-second thing. But it was an outdoor game segment, had kids in the face coverings, and they just played CROSSNET for 3 minutes straight on live television.
Really?
3 minutes. So the segment was 3 minutes long. Our CROSSNET thing was about 45 seconds to a minute, but since it's so big, it was in the frame for the entire 3 minutes. So it was cool. It was really cool. We had just restocked on Amazon that day, actually. So it was really, really great timing. Easily cleared like $65,000 that day. So that's cool.
That's awesome. Very cool. I mean, that's, one of the many things I love with our vantage point in the ecosystem is when we see customers of ours getting on Today's Show and Shark Tank or just some of these other, just mainstream TV networks. And just you can see 5, 10, 15,000 orders come within like a 24-hour time period. And then also from like a branding perspective, it's huge.
Yeah.
We got 2 more great questions from the audience. And then I've got the question I always ended out with. Somehow we're almost to the top of the hour. From Jacob, what are the biggest reasons people have not to buy? And how do you combat that friction in advance?
It's $150. Most people do not have $150 to spend on a game like this. So we try to combat that. We have payment options on our site. I think I've tried every Afterpay method just to figure it out. But yeah, we have Afterpay methods. We have payment plans to motivate people. So that's one way. That's the biggest objective.
What kind of conversion rate changes have you seen by utilizing Afterpay as you test those out?
Honestly, not the biggest. I don't have that data. I wouldn't even lie to you. I do still using it on the site, but it's not. I don't have great data behind it. But I do know it's just an option. If I see somebody in the Instagram DMs being like, "Oh, $150, no way, I don't have this." Maybe you're better suited for our Afterpay method.
Mm-hmm. I wonder if they even have these options. Because you worked at Uber, correct?
Yep.
So with Uber, it was pretty fascinating how they rolled out. If the 3 of us were in an Uber, we could split the fare right there.
Yeah.
And with your product, that'd actually be a pretty interesting model as well, without it being too cumbersome in the checkout experience. But
Absolutely.
It's especially if it's you and your roommates, whether you're in college or after college, let's split it.
Yeah, that's a good idea for sure.
There we go. That's whoever runs with that tech company, hit me up. Interesting question here from Vikram. So you guys are building this brand. Do you think about an exit strategy? Let's see if we get the real answer or the on-air answer.
I mean, ideally, right? Yeah, it'd be dope to sell this company. We're going to sell this company at some point. It's a fact. None of us we all have ambitions outside of this. I love music, live music, being without live music. I want to build a bunch of concert venues all across the world. That would be Chris's dream. I also went to school for film. I want to produce movies in the future. Those are my 2 big passions. But right now, we're just we're just normal dudes, right? I don't have a Maserati or anything. I literally finally bought my first lavish purchase. I bought a car the other day. But we don't need a lot of money right now. We don't we don't need a lot of money. We don't need these crazy expenses. So we're not in a rush to sell the company right now. We know volleyball is not going anywhere, and we know CrossNet's not going anywhere. We've already proven that we're in all these schools right now. People are loving the game. It's not a fad. It's only just beginning. And international expansion is just about to start. We're about to flip the levers in every single country. We're starting with Australia, United Kingdom, Canada. I open up warehouses there, turn paid ads on in those countries. We could be $100 million company, $200 million company, no question.
I love that. And as a volleyball fan, which I played basketball too, which is, a very mainstream sport.
Yeah.
Volleyball was always like that third tier weird sport. And so I love the fact that you guys you're building up some momentum behind volleyball. And it's crazy also just to see it's such a huge sport in other countries in like Eastern Europe and Australia and even different parts of the US as well. Like I know Ball State, it has like this huge like volleyball program there. They're nowhere close to the beach. Same with BYU. And then of course the coast. So it's pretty interesting. All right. So I'll ask you, my final question. But first I want to say thank you to you, Chris, for taking, an hour of your time. Really appreciate you coming on, sharing your story, dropping some knowledge for us. I'm excited to continue to follow your journey and, be a customer as well. And just want to say thanks again to the audience. Always appreciate you all joining in, being very proactive with the questions. Nick will follow up with who the winner is. And as always, we will be here next week for the final episode as well, 3:00 Eastern time Wednesday. So come join us. So my last question, Chris, what is your number one piece of advice for entrepreneurs today?
Just get started, dude. Like nobody that you look up to was ever anything until they became somebody. Like, doesn't matter where you come from, like how much money you have, who your parents are, like where you went to school, your race. A good idea is like simply a good idea. Like we were literally just 3 kids from a farm town. Like we knew, I don't know anybody that's rich or famous or has opened up their own business. Like we just had a good idea and we never gave up. And there's going to be times where like, shit, I can't do this anymore. And I need to go get that paycheck. That 9 to 5 is pretty much always going to be there waiting. It's easy to stay in my position now, but I stashed away cash for 6 months and then I took a risk and I'm so damn lucky. I thank myself every day that I had enough, I don't know, trust in myself, I guess, to just go out and do it. So yeah, just get started.
I love that. Get started. So Chris, thanks a bunch. Keep kicking ass moving forward. Excited to watch it. Enjoy San Diego. And thanks to everybody for joining us.
Appreciate it, guys. Thanks for having me.
Take care.
Thanks so much, guys.